Peace, welcome back to the channel. My name is Luis Garcia and you're watching Wise Mind Films. And today's video I'm just going to talk to you about what I learned this past year. One of the biggest lessons I've learned this year, and it's actually something I covered in another video, is the type of content that I don't want to make. I think I'm getting back to what I originally started this channel for, which is an outlet for me to showcase my movies, my short films, and eventually web series and hopefully feature films. And I think the more that I've been doing YouTube and the more that I get involved in the photography and filmmaking culture of YouTube, I've gravitated towards tips, tutorials, and gear just because that's what we see. That's all we're bombarded with. And it's fine. There is a time and place, and there's actually some fantastic creators out there who really take the time to learn a product so that they can share with us not only the pros but the flaws, and the workarounds to using those tools. While I don't take nothing away from those type of videos, I'm tired of even watching them. So I think moving forward, obviously I've said this in the past, I just want to make films. I want to be hired to direct. I want to be hired to edit, but feature films, movies, and things of that nature. So in order to get there, the process that I'm going to actually use is to try to just create one a month as much as, I'm actually not even going to hold myself to that because, as my good friend Andrew Warner pointed out in one of his videos, I'll link that below too, sometimes we set ourselves up for failure by setting up these goals. So instead, what I'm going to do is just, figure out what actions I need to take in order to make that happen. So I want to make documentaries, and I already have some in mind. I'm just going to start pursuing them. Documentaries don't need to be made in a week. I think that's the problem with the YouTube culture, is that we try to put things out so fast. We don't let things marinate. And honestly, a great documentary, probably the best documentaries we've seen in history, probably took, a few years to complete, because a story is a story. And once you find out what story you're going to tell, you let the story dictate how long it's going to take you to make that project. Now, of course, done is better than perfect. And I don't mean it in that sense where, you're not going to sit there for years tweaking a video. Instead, what I'm referring to is once you get the skeleton, once you get the bones of the film, you allow the story to take you wherever it needs to go in order for it to be told, if that makes sense. The ideas that I have is actually a good friend of mine. He lost his brother to gun violence many years ago. And, there's a story there that needs to be told from many perspectives, because he was a father, he was a brother, he was a husband, he was a son. The taking of his life was actually, it affected a lot of us. Still to this day, some of us have not fully recovered from that. So me and him have been in talks, and he's down to do it, but obviously, timing is everything. So we've talked about, it's been over a year since we talked about that project, but I think this year I'm going to just put it into motion, because why not? It's a story that doesn't have to be told in a week. I'm not giving myself that pressure of, I got to put this out for YouTube by next week. Nah, it is what it is. It's going to come when it comes. But aside from that, I kind of want to do a documentary on my mother who passed away last year. Her story is one that should be told, not only for my future kids to see and know about their grandmother, but just in general, those are the type of things I want to make. I'm seeing a lack of entertainment on YouTube when it comes to certain content. Now, there was a while back, I don't know if you guys remember the show Money and Violence, Respect Life. They were hood dramas, hood, series, but web series, but there were stories there that, finally were able to be shared across the world, despite that, obviously these weren't professional actors, these weren't professional filmmakers, but they took a camera and did what they did with it. And they've actually been able, at least some of those series actually were able to get funded, for new seasons, and actually, some of them even scored some pretty good deals. I don't see that anymore. Pretty much there's a hole that needs to be filled, and I'm gonna try to fill that in my own way. Doesn't mean I'm going to retell those same stories. I would like to actually create a type of series where people are going to be tuned in, just like they're tuned into the latest Netflix series or the latest Hulu series. Let's bring it back to those days where people are anticipating what this next episode is going to look like. And of course, the short films that I'm going to be making this year, I've always had the idea of creating my own cinematic universe, even before Marvel created the MCU. That's why I'm such a big fan of those Marvel movies. It's just because how they were able to interconnect so many different movies between, and the end scenes, or just, certain sequences within each film that correlate to the others. I think it's an amazing thing to do, and it's not an easy thing to do, but it's fun. I would like to build off of these ideas that I've had in the past and actually bring them into fruition little by little. Of course, I'm not going to say that, by the end of this next year that all this stuff is actually going to come true, but I think the main thing that I've learned is that I just have to do it. I have to put in that work. I have to start it. And when I originally started this channel, that's what it was about. My goal was to create my own platform. Think about it. We have a YouTube channel. When you watch something on TV, when you're on a particular channel, you're not seeing the same thing back to back to back to back to back. You're seeing different shows. You're seeing different ideas. You're seeing, so many different things. And that's kind of what I want to do. It's not necessarily going to be a variety channel, but think about it. It's our channel. So we do what we want with it. We don't have to be, stuck in that same cycle of, oh, this is what we need because this is what's going to get views, or because this is the only thing that's going to actually trigger the people to watch. I actually want to make things that are going to impact not only the viewer, but impact me as I'm making it. I want to continue to learn. I want to continue to grow and build my skills. And of course, like I said, those tips, tutorials, and gear reviews, that's going to be a part of it, of course, because it's just, it's part of the process. Once I learn how to use a specific tool, if I find that I can share and add value to, the landscape of those kind of videos, then I'll pursue it. I'll do it. I think that's the key takeaway that I got from this year is I know what I'm not satisfied with, and I know what's going to get me satisfied, what's going to satisfy this creative hunger that I have, and that's narrative, films. That's short films, like when I did the Consume Less and Create More short film. When you do consume, make it worthwhile. Consume something that will help sharpen up your skills, help you figure out your next move, or help you earn that extra stream of revenue. Things where I'm narrating and acting things out, because there's a message behind that, and I think that's where I've been more fulfilled. I guess the content that makes me fulfilled as an artist is actually things that leave a message, things that hopefully impact somebody to continue to pick up that camera, because like everybody else this year, at least for me, I'm speaking for myself, hasn't been easy due to personal things, and not just the pandemic wise, but just a lot of things that happen, to me personally on a day-to-day basis. It really does take a toll on you, and it does stop you from, putting out your best foot forward when it comes to creating. But we keep going. We keep picking up the camera, we keep creating, we keep learning, and we keep growing. And of course, we're growing together. We have a great community, as far as like the different areas that I'm in, as far as Twitter. I don't really go on Facebook like that, but I am a part of some pretty dope groups on Facebook that I scroll through every now and then. And I see something I like, I'm going to engage with it. But I do know that once I do get myself organized, or at least figure out a routine to keep myself organized, because it's one thing to get organized, but the trick is in staying organized. I only want to do it once and then figure out a system to keep it going, so that I'm not stuck in this position again, come this time next year, where I look back and I realize, oh shit, I done organized the same things over and over many times throughout the year, and I still haven't gotten nowhere. So I'm rambling at this point, but that's all I have for this year. I've made some projects, I've abandoned some projects, but ultimately I'm still picking up the camera and I'm still making something, and that's what counts. And I think that's all we need to do until we get to that next level, or until we get to that next stepping stone that's gonna take us to where we actually want to go. So, Happy New Year. Hope to continue connecting with all these wonderful people that leave comments, all these people on Twitter, all these people on Instagram who communicate and engage with me. I appreciate you guys more than you guys know. And let's just continue to go. Just remember, consume less and create more.